You say that familiarity can become the enemy of wonder, that we're actually getting bored with orthodoxy. How have we become convinced, on some sense, viscerally, that orthodoxy is boring or stodgy or stuffy? And why is it dangerous to lose interest in these core doctrines of the faith?
Yeah, I don't think that we rationally convince ourselves that orthodoxy is boring and stuffing. I think what happens over time is we get familiar with particular truths and they don't wow us as much. Just the same way, I mean, this is true about life. And about beauty. I mean, I make the comment, just about creation. People that live near the beach wind up going to the mountains for vacation and vice versa, because it's almost like and then when they come back, it's like when you come back to where you live, you are able to see the beauty of your surroundings in a way that you kind of see it fresh, right? I think the same is true with Christian truth and with doctrine, is that we can just get so accustomed to the Bible passages that we've read, the songs that we sing, the truths don't move us as much as they once did. And so so what do we need to do if that's human nature, is to grow bored with beauty around us and wonders that are all around us with creation? And if that happens also when we talk about redemption, well, then I think the solution has got to be, we've got to continually go back and find people who will show us in a fresh light these truths that we sometimes begin to take for granted. And we need to be able to see that, and we need the Spirit of God to reignite in our hearts a passion for and a wonder and amazement at this truth that has been handed down to us.
This is where the Chestertonian fingerprints of your own thinking are kind of clear in this work. And you draw on lots of different authors, but I know you're a big admirer of Chesterton. We've talked about him before on the podcast, and I am too, based on the two books that I've read from him so far, and that is, his two most famous, Orthodoxy and The Everlasting Man. And in the beginning of The Everlasting Man, he has this passage that I'll never forget. It just deeply sort of shook me when I first read it, because it resonated as so true and obviously experientially right. He says that oftentimes, in order to see something rightly, we have to see it as if for the first time. We have to see it as, Jim Jordan might put it, through new eyes or with fresh eyes. And to illustrate the fact, he has this wonderful little vignette where he describes for us, as if for the first time, a horse. Like this creature we call a horse, with which we are deeply familiar, probably more familiar than any other animal except a dog, right? We see a horse and we just think that's a horse, and it registers mentally with us. We don't even take time to understand what we're looking at. But he describes what the first man who ever saw a horse must have beheld, coming toward him from this ancient forest, like a gargoyle with this weird head thrust out on a gutter spout, and this mane that runs the length of its back like a beard in the wrong place, and all these weird features of a horse. And he said, look at this thing, look at it as if for the first time, and realize what a monster it is, what a wonderful and awe-inspiring monster it is. And you'll feel the way that first guy felt. Well, the same thing is true of, he says, of history and Christian history, and I would say of the Christian faith itself. And so a lot of what you appear to be doing in this book, Trevin, is trying to help us see orthodoxy as if for the first time, as if it's fresh for us. So I want to ask you this, because I'll put you on the spot here, but I think this is a really great exercise. Could you kind of help us see the Christian faith as if for the first time, as if we're like on an elevator and someone says, I'm tired of Christianity. I'm bored. I know the rigmarole. I know how it goes. I know what you guys believe. Why should I be interested in it? Give us the Christian faith as if for the first time in a way that might be, fresh and interesting to someone.
Well, I mean, gosh, I think there's different approaches you could take to that. That's a thrilling exercise. I hope pastors and teachers will think through ways that they might do that in their own context. As soon as you say that, though, what immediately comes to mind to me is to want to tell that person, I mean, do you not consider the strangeness of this? That, okay, we believe that a Jewish leader in the first century from a backwoods part of the Roman Empire that went around teaching and had a miracles ministry and healing and whatnot, wound up running afoul of the cultural authorities, got himself crucified, but then was raised from the dead so that the people that had once followed him, and even many who hadn't, suddenly were convinced that the hinge point of the cosmos had somehow, that there had been this entire turning of the world, and this was the world-shattering event that all of human history was going for, and that this guy is now been ascended. He's now ascended into heaven and is the king of the universe. And every person on earth owes him their total and full allegiance, to receive him and submit to him as Lord, and to reorient their entire lives around his commandments and what he says. Okay, what about that message is intuitive? Like, what about that message makes people think, oh, well, yeah, of course. And yet 2 billion people, like billions of people now on this earth, and if we go back through history, for 2,000 years have believed this message and believed that this is the meaning of existence and the universe. You know, God leaping down into the world that he created in order to then draw up heaven and draw us up to be with him. Or you can flip the image of, you know, new heavens coming down, the new Jerusalem coming down from heaven, new heavens, new earth at the end. I mean, there's nothing about that message that you would just simply share with someone and they would think, well, yeah, of course, that makes total sense. And yet, for 2,000 years, people continue to believe this message. And even now, it has a strange resonance and power when you share it. And this is what we believe. We believe this to be true. We've got to recapture something of the strangeness, the weirdness, the adventure of what it is we're actually saying, rather than just saying these words, like recognizing like what we're actually communicating, to help people understand just the wonder of the story as it has come down to us.